and Sunday after Fajr prayer. Now there we explain in any issue the four madhabs opinions and then their evidence, and then we discuss the evidence, and then we would see which way to go. But here, because it's very short, the time is even we are not able to cover everything today. So I limited myself to the stronger opinion. If there is any benefit of mentioning the different opinions, I would mention it. But most of the time, what I mention is that the stronger opinion, the opinion that has the stronger proof. If you have any question related to a proof of an opinion, you can just raise your hand and ask about that. Okay? And in the area of Tahara, as we mentioned last week, يعني the Hanafi madhab is one of the strongest madhab in the area of Tahara. You know, the issues of the opinions of the Hanafi madhab in the Tahara, they're very, very, very strong. For example, in another madhab who is strong in the area of transactions, the Hanbali madhab. When it comes to the business transactions, the Hanbali madhab is the strongest madhab in that area. In the other areas of Salah, you know, we have different opinions. Sometimes the opinion of the Hanafi is a stronger opinion, sometimes the opinion of the Shafi'i. The opinion that has the stronger proof, this should be the opinion that you are required to follow. Allah Ta'ala. Okay? The question from the sister says, if someone prays Fajr before time because he has to be at work, is that acceptable? It's not acceptable, because Allah says, "Inna as-salata kanat 'ala al-mu'minina kitaban mawquta." Okay, he should try to do the salah after the beginning of the time. He cannot do it before the beginning of the time. She says that Fajr is 6 a.m. If he prayed like 5:30. Now, if she's saying 6 a.m. is the time of the iqamah, but she prayed 5:30 before the iqamah, but after the time, because many masjids they perform the salah maybe 20 or 30 minutes after the adhan, that will be acceptable. But she cannot or he cannot pray Fajr before the time, or any salah before its time. Even a minute before the time is not allowed. Wallahu ta'ala alam. طيب, the third prerequisite for the salah is being in a state of purity from hadath, and we talked about this last week. Hadath here referred to both major and minor hadath. A major hadath, like for example janaba, after having sexual relation with one's wife, the person cannot pray, she or he cannot pray until they perform a complete ghusl. Okay? And if someone is in a state of minor hadath, like he used the bathroom or he passed wind or he slept for a long time, then he cannot pray without making wudu. This is what's meant by being in state of purity from hadath, both major and minor hadath. We covered this last week. Fourth prerequisite, being free from any najasa on your body, clothes, or the place of the salah. Any type of this najasa should be removed. Some related issues here. Now, if one sees najasa on him after he finished the prayer, like after he finished the prayer, he found najasa, impurity on his coat or on his socks, then there is no harm, his prayer is acceptable. If it happened after the salah. Now, if it happened during the salah, like he found or discovered najasa on his coat. Now, if he can take off his coat without doing many movement, then he should do so. But if it's too hard for him to do that, then he should interrupt that prayer, then change. For example, if the najasa is on his undershirt, it will be very hard for him to take it out during the salah. If that is the case, then he should interrupt prayer and change his undershirt and do the salah again. Okay? But if he discovered this after he finished the salah, then there is no harm and his salah is acceptable and he does not have to repeat it again. But if he forgot and prayed without wudu, he has to make wudu and repeat the salah. If someone forgot, like he prayed Dhuhr prayer, and after Dhuhr prayer he realized that he prayed without wudu, then he has to make up that prayer. It's different than this here. The scholar said even if he remembered after weeks, that couple weeks ago I remembered I prayed Dhuhr without wudu, I have to make wudu and repeat that prayer. Okay? What is the difference between the two? Why you repeat here and you do not repeat here?
In the first he met the condition.
Huh?
In the first one he already met
Both
the
of them are conditions. Because we said being in a state of tahara from hadath and being free from impurity. Okay? But here we said if you forgot and you prayed with najasa on your body and you discover it after the salah, you do not have to repeat the salah. Here, if you discover that you prayed without wudu, then you have to make wudu and repeat the salah. What is the difference between the two?
Wudu is a prerequisite.
And this also, removing the najasa is a prerequisite. You know, the difference, this is a command to refrain from doing something. And this is a command to do something.
It's a do it more.
Doing is more important than refraining. You know, let me rephrase this. Which is greater sin? Failure to comply with a wajib or commission of a prohibition? Huh? Which greater sin? Failure to do a wajib, an obligation, or committing a haram, a prohibition? Failure to comply with the wajib. And just think about the story of Adam and Iblis. What is the sin of Iblis? He failed to perform the obligation. He was commanded to prostrate. What is the sin of Adam? He committed a sin. Okay? So generally, failure to comply with the wajib is a greater sin than commission of a sin. Here, it's an obligation for you to do the wudu. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, idha qumtum ila salati faghsilu wujuhakum. The ayah says, if you intend to pray, then do the following acts, which is wudu. Here, we are required to abstain and refrain from najasa. So if you pray with the najasa, means you committed a sin. You committed a prohibition. Here, if you did not pray, or if you forgot to pray without wudu, this is failure to comply with the wajib. So failure to comply with the wajib is greater than committing. This is why here you will be exempted. You don't have to repeat the salah. Another example, if you forgot and ate during the days of Ramadan, does this break your fast? No. Why? Because you committed something that's prohibited for you to do out of forgetfulness. So you will be excused. The same like here. You prayed with najasa on your body. Which means that you committed a prohibition, but out of forgetfulness. You will be excused. But here, because you failed to comply with a wajib, then there is no excuse. Even if you did it out of forgetfulness. Whenever you remember, you have to repeat it. Even after years, you remember that I prayed a salah 10 years ago. It's just an example. Without wudu, then you have to make wudu and repeat that salah. Okay? طيب.
Question.
Yes.
In the first case, it's
Absolutely.
not required to repeat the prayer. Right?
Yes. Here.
I mean, even if we want to, we cannot repeat it.
And if you discover the najasa after the salah, right?
Yeah.
You are not required to do the salah.
We
Yes.
should not repeat it.
Yes, you should not repeat it. But here, you have to repeat the prayer. Now, the fifth prerequisite is to face Qiblah, face Mecca. Now, facing the Qiblah is obligatory except for the following cases. Okay? If one is unable to face the Qiblah because of illness or fear or any excuse. If someone fail to face the Qiblah for an excuse because he's ill and he's in bed and he cannot move anywhere, then he will be exempted from facing the Qiblah. Okay? This is one exception. Now, if one is performing voluntary prayer while riding on his car or an animal, okay, and he's traveling, facing Qiblah is not an obligation. Now, if you are driving south 95 and you want to pray your voluntary prayer, the sunnah prayer, while you are driving, you don't have to face Qiblah. It's not an obligatory for you to face Qiblah. Okay? Because the Prophet ﷺ used to pray on his camel when he's traveling, to pray the sunnah prayers on his camel without facing Qiblah. Wherever the camel goes left and right, he continue praying. But only if it is a voluntary prayer while he's traveling. Okay?
Is it sunnah to muakkad or sunnah to jami?
Huh?
Any?
Any sunnah, whether it's sunnah or nafil. Because the Hanafis distinguish between sunnah like, those, for example, the 2 rak'at or the 4 rak'at after Dhuhr prayer, for example, or sunnah al-fajr. Okay? If you are traveling, riding your vehicle, you can do it while you are riding your vehicle even without facing the Qiblah. But not the fard prayer. It's an obligatory, if it's a fard prayer, to face the Qiblah, unless if you have an excuse of such type of excuses. Okay? So this is the second exception.
Question?
Yes.
If you are traveling by plane and it takes 15 hours to go from one spot to another, and if the further plane, the salah came,
Yeah.
and what you'll do there?
Of course, you have to pray.
Yes.
Unless if you are sure, for example, it's like a 5 or 6 hours trip, and I'm sure, I left at the Zuhr time, and I'm sure at Asr time I'll be at my destination, then you have the option to delay Zuhr and do it in combination with Asr at that time. But if it's like 15 hours, at least you need to pray like Fajr, for example, prayer, then you have to pray. Now,
Direction.
طيب. If it is, I would say to you, if you can pray standing up, facing the Qibla, then you should do that. If you cannot do that, then according to your ability, you can pray sitting down on your seat, even if you are facing south or north or west. Okay, that will be an exemption because you are unable to face the Qibla, especially if it is not a Muslim airliner. If you stand up to pray in the back, then Marshal will jump on you, right? So you have to be careful. And I remember before September 11, when we travel, we go and talk to the people, tell them we want to pray. They talk, no problem, you can come on the back of the plane and pray. But you cannot do this nowadays. Yeah. But if you can, if there is any way, like for example, Saudi airliners, they have a masjid inside the aeroplane. Okay, if that is the case, and they show you the direction of Qibla, there is a compass.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If it's like Pakistani airline, also you can talk to them and they will let you pray in the back. Now, okay? طيب. Yes. Sorry.
Would there be an exemption if, say you're traveling about, your community, you're running errands, something like that, and it's time for Salah, but maybe you can't get back home in time or something like that, and you pray in your car, but you can't determine which direction is the Qibla because maybe you just don't have the knowledge of how to figure that out. Would that be like a
Exemption? Yeah, this is the point here. Now, if one does not know the direction of Qibla, you have to exert an effort to try to find out what is the direction of Qibla. Of course, if you have a smartphone, you don't have a problem. You can tell very easily, or if you have a compass, or if you can ask anyone in that locality where is the east. Well, once you know any one of the 4 directions, you can. If there is the east, this means that this is the north, so northeast would be like this. There's no problem. Or if you cannot find anyone to ask, then you can make a guess, but a guess based on ijtihad. Like for example, okay, this is 95 north, so most likely this is the direction of north. If this is the north, then this would be the east, so northeast would be like this. You have to make some effort to find out. Once you reach a decision, then pray. Now, if later on you find out that you prayed to the wrong direction, your salah is acceptable. You don't have to repeat it. Okay, this is the point
I have a
here.
question.
Yes.
If I am making a wudu and spend salah while I'm going to the mosque to the place, and if I little sleep in the car, do I have to make it it's close to the front or I have to make it?
Okay, we covered this last week. That if someone slept, the stronger opinion that if someone slept deep sleep, and he is unaware about the surrounding, then he has to make wudu again. But if he slept, even if he snored, but he's still aware about what's going on around him, like he hears the noise and things like that, then his wudu is okay. Some scholars, they said, if you sleep, to extend that, if you have something in your hand and it fell down, you won't feel it, then you have to make wudu. It depends on the sleep. If it is deep sleep, then he has to make up wudu again. But if it's like, small nap, while he's aware about the surrounding, then he does not have to renew his wudu. Yes?
So if you're driving Salat, and can you pray in your car or you have to get out and
Now, there are many scenarios here. If you are driving, going home, for example, you got stuck in the middle of the traffic, okay? There are many. Now, if this salah is combinable with the salah that comes after it, like if this happens for Zuhur prayer, and you are sure you reach home at Asr time, then you can delay it and pray at that time, combining the two prayers. This is an excuse that will allow you to combine the prayers.
What if you don't have wudu at this time?
If you don't have wudu and you can pull over to use water to make wudu, then you should do that. Okay, if you can pull over or take the next exit, you have to study all possibilities. You know, if you need to do the prayer with full wudu and standing up at ruku' and sujood, okay, try to do it. If you cannot do it that way, then see the second option. You know, there is certain times, yes, you can pray while you are driving. The Prophet ﷺ and his companions, they were traveling, it was raining very hard, and they prayed riding on their camels because they cannot, it's muddy, they cannot pray. So, you know, there are many situations, many scenarios. You should explore all those scenarios. And inshallah, if you get the time, we can go through this in more details. Okay? If you have wudu, if you don't have wudu, if you are driving towards the Qiblah, there are many scenarios. Inshallah. طيب. The last prerequisite for the salah is covering the awrah. Okay? Covering the awrah, this terminology is used by the fuqaha, the jurists. But the terminology used in the Quran is أخذ الزينة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, يا بني آدم خذوا زينتكم عند كل مسجد. O sons of Adam, take your full adornment when you come to the prayer. So taking full adornment is the word used in the Quran, which means that if you are praying at home, you have to put the best clothes that you have when you pray. Some people, they pray in their pajamas. It's acceptable, but not this, it's not following the instructions of the Quran. You know, put the best clothes that you have when you pray, whether you are coming to the masjid or praying at your home. But the jurists used to say covering the awrah, and the word awrah refers to the minimum parts of your body that need to be covered. Okay? طيب. The awrah should be covered with something that is permissible to use. For example, men are prohibited from using silk. So he should not cover his awrah with a shirt, for example, made of silk. Women can do that. Okay? So the thing that you use to cover your awrah should be permissible to use and should not be transparent, that you can see through it. And also that could describe the color of the skin. The awrah for boys between the age of 7 and 10 years of age is their private parts. If they cover their private parts, then they can pray. This is children between 7 and 10. Now, the awrah for males, okay, 10 years of age and older, including adults, okay, and girls before the age of puberty, is what between the navel and the knees. This is the minimum to be covered. What in between the navel and the knees. Now the navel itself and the knees are not part of the awrah. If that part is covered, then that adult male or that boy who is over 10 and over, you know, can pray. But there is another requirement. The Prophet ﷺ says you cannot pray without having something covering your shoulders, unless if it is if he does not have anything to cover his shoulders, then he should cover what in between the navel and the knees. Okay, so covering the two shoulders for males is also required. Okay, and for women, now we have three opinions. The first opinion, that the entire body except the face should be covered. This is the Hanbali position, that women should cover the entire body except their faces. Now, the Maliki and the Shafi'i opinion that they should cover the entire body except the face and the two hands. And the Hanafi position is to cover the entire body except the face, the hand, and the feet. Okay, the second opinion seems to be stronger because we have a statement from Salama, the mother of the believers, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, that she said that a woman can pray on a garment that's long enough to cover the top of her feet. the top of her feet, not the bottom, the top of her feet. So women are required to cover everything except the face and the two hands, okay, including the tops of their feet. Wallahu ta'ala jalla wa ala.
What was the last one?
Yes,
What was the last one again?
this is the Hanafi's opinion. They should cover everything except the face, the hands, the two hands, and the feet. Yes.
So you're saying the second one is stronger?
Yeah, it seems to be stronger because you have a statement of Salama that she was asked, can a woman pray on a garment and khimar that covers her head? She said yes, as long as the garment is long enough to cover the tops of the feet.
So that means socks, including socks?
Yeah, socks, or if she has the garment long enough to cover the foot, then it would be.
Sheikh, in many poor countries,
Mm.
you don't have the means.
If you don't have the means, then you pray as is. Yes. Because Allah says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. You have to fear Allah according to your ability. If you cannot pray standing up, pray sitting down. If you cannot pray sitting down, pray. If someone cannot cover his awrah, he does not have anything to cover his awrah, what should he do? He can pray. But if one finds nothing to cover his awrah except a najis cloth, he has only one garment that is contaminated with najasa, what should he do? He can pray on that one. He should wear it and pray with that najasa. Okay? If one can find nothing to cover his awrah, he prays with his awrah and covers. Okay? These extreme conditions. If non-intentionally, a small part of the awrah is uncovered during the salah, okay, or a large part exposed for a short time, that will not affect the salah. Okay, he should fix that and continue in his salah. This is the end of this unit. And we have only 10 minutes for the salah, so inshallah we'll go prepare for the salah. And what will be the program, Sheikh Muhammad? We'll come right after the salah, right?
Yes, inshallah. Salah is at 12:45. After that, we'll go to the lunch in the metal building, inshallah. After lunch, we'll come back here.
It's not 12:30, it's 12:45.
Oh, okay. So inshallah we can continue at more 15.
Yeah, 12:45.
I'm sorry, I said it's 12:30. Right. Let's inshallah start the second presentation. Right. This unit number 2, is about the essential component of the salah, the wajibat, the obligatory action of the salah, and the recommended action of the salah. So inshallah we start first by the essential components. Now the essential components, those are the arkan, those are the basic components of the salah. Okay? That we have to do it. Even if you forgot to do any one of those essential components, we have to make it up. And then prostrate for sahu after the salah. They are very important to be performed in the salah. طيب. The first one is Al-qyam مع القدرة. To pray standing up. To start the salah is standing up. If you are able to do so, which means that if you are unable to do so, then you will be exempted. If it is an obligatory prayer. Why? Because in a sunnah prayer, even if you are healthy and you decided to pray sitting down, you can pray sitting down. But for obligatory prayer, and if you are able to pray standing up, then you have to pray standing up. This is called Al-qyam. Okay, now if I want to do my 2 sunnah after Dhuhr prayer, sitting down, I'm not tired, I'm not sick, I'm not ill, I'm healthy, but I decided to do that, I can do it. The salah will be valid, but the reward will be reduced to 1/2. You will have 1/2 of the reward. Okay? This is the first essential component. The second essential component is the opening takbir. The opening takbir is to say Allahu Akbar. Not raising your hands. No, saying Allahu Akbar. So if I started the salah just saying Allahu Akbar without raising my hands, my salah is acceptable, is valid, because raising my hands is only recommended. But saying Allahu Akbar is the essential component. Reciting Al-Fatiha and everything in rak'ah of the salah, according to the majority of the scholars, is an essential component. According to the Hanafi, it's only wajib. It is not fard, it is wajib, yes.
Sheikh, I just want to give us your opinion because it is a common practice or common I heard for people. Let's say they went to go for a grocery or they went out and the time for Salah happened. Many people take it by default to pray in their car sitting, not even taking the effort to step out and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And
Yeah,
a lot-
this is incorrect, yes.
So what happened is, if you ask them, okay, why don't you do that? This is, well, it's better to pray at least than not to pray. That's the excuse. So can you please give us your...
You know, we said al-qiyam مع القدرة, standing up for the one who has the ability to do so. But if you cannot stand up because, you know, for example, you are ill, or because out of real fear, sometimes, you know, we say, oh, no, I cannot, I feel impressed praying in front of people. No, this is not excuse. But if there is an imminent danger, if you pray to stand up, you know, this might bring harm to you, then of course you can pray sitting down. It should be a real excuse, not something, you know, in one's mind. Now,
But isn't that the same thing if it contradictory to the flight, like you're saying?
yeah,
In
the flight, yeah,
you-
because
I
how
mean,
in flight,
you can do it standing,
Of
but
course.
there's, in the chance of fear is there. or
exactly, but
openness.
that's real fear.
But then
Yes,
but,
I'm telling you, yeah,
but
if
the same
you,
thing-
It is.
but
but
the same
in
thing
a-
if you're in the grocery store, what he's saying, if you're in the grocery store outside, you know the opinion at this point about the Muslims, and you're praying there, you and your wife in the street, and there are all this kind of people, you never know
oh,
what's going to
yeah,
happen.
you should try to find a good spot. Even if you approach the manager, like, you know, a restaurant, tell the manager, you know, I'm going to take my lunch here, just I need a small spot
Yeah.
to pray. I don't think they will refuse. We should first try. Then if
You
you
can
cannot
find-
find, now the second option would be to pray and guard your wife, okay, and watch for your wife praying. Then after that, pray, and she will be, you know, like a guard for you. If you cannot do it this way either, and this salah you can combine it with the common prayer, then you can delay it and combine it with the other prayer.
Because once when I was traveling and I came to a place on the highway, and these brothers and sisters, they went to the parking lot, some shopping mall, they they have the cars in there, and they start praying in the parking lot. And like, hundreds of people are there, they're in the parking lot. Now, I don't know, in this kind of situation, with your family, you're praying in the parking lot in a state like North Carolina, South Carolina, I mean, I'm taking a risk.
You should
I'm
try
taking
to find,
unnecessary risk,
yeah,
you know.
we should try to find a good place, because also you need to pray with khushu'. In a parking lot, you know, cars coming in, you know, you should try, and I think most of the time we would be able, but in extreme conditions, you know, if you cannot do it standing up, then you can pray. If it's real excuse. Like,
I have a question here.
yeah.
In terms of that, if you are driving and that Maghrib prayer comes and you may maybe 20 minutes late or 15 minutes late,
Okay.
you can try stopping the car. But if you can khushu and kudu that I'll go home and I'll pray by standing.
It's better to
15
delay.
minutes late.
Yes.
It's okay?
Yes, okay. Go, you can join it with Isha. Because you have, whenever you have an excuse, whenever it's hard for you to perform the salah on its time, then you can delay it and perform it and combine it with the coming prayers, like Zuhur and Asr or Maghrib and Isha.
But that is maybe a certain distance. Let's say that instead of 55, you are maybe 25
No,
miles
you don't
away.
have to be a traveler. You know, there is two different things. Shortening the prayers to pray like the four rak'at prayer to 2 rak'at, this only allowed if you are a traveler. But combining the prayers, you can combine the prayers even if you are staying at your home. If there is an excuse, like for example, hardship. Like for example, if I am painting my house, okay, now if I want to pray Zuhr on time, you have to go get down, clean all this stuff from my hands to make wudu, okay, and then pray and then go up again and then paint, okay. Now, this would be very hard for me to do that. If that is the case, if it happens once in a time, then you can combine the prayer. If you have an exam that goes all the way through Maghrib time, you can delay Maghrib, but it should not be, do it frequently. Okay, if it happens once in a time, that will be acceptable. Whenever there is a need for you to combine, you can combine, but it should be a real need. Yes.
On the question of the opening takbir, if you're joining the salah and they have already started, do the takbir aloud or?
Yeah, you don't say it aloud. You just move your lips and tongue. When we say reading Al-Fatiha, you cannot keep your mouth like this shut and read it with your heart. This is not reading. Reading Al-Fatiha means to move your lips and tongue, but don't say it loudly like this. I'm reading now. You know, I'm reading every word, but you cannot hear me. Okay? Now, the third essential component is to recite Al-Fatiha in every single rak'ah of the salah, whether the salah is fard prayer or sunnah prayer. This is the majority of the scholars' opinion. The Hanafis said it is only obligatory.